I welcome you all for today's video session. Before going into the video, this is J. Mahalakshmi, Assistant Professor of Nutrition and Dietetics from the Standard 5 Rajaratnam College for Women, Sivakasi. Today's topic is causes, symptoms, consequence and dietary management of liver cirrhosis. Before going into the video, from the last video you would have known about the liver functions. We have discussed the various liver functions, and in this video we are discussing particularly about the liver cirrhosis, which is the end stage liver disorder. Let's get into the video. So the learning objectives of today's video: to study the causes of liver cirrhosis, to understand the various symptoms and consequences of end stage liver diseases, to learn the dietary management required in the treatment of liver diseases. So these are the learning objectives of today's video. Let's get into the topic. So liver cirrhosis. Liver cirrhosis is a chronic condition. It takes years and years for this condition to develop. It may be because of the repetitive infective diseases like hepatitis or chronic alcoholism, which causes the liver cirrhosis. It doesn't happen in a day or overnight. It takes years and years to cause the liver cirrhosis. It is caused because of the necrosis, fatty infiltrations, infections and fibrosis. So necrosis is the damage to the cells or death of the liver cells or hepatocytes. Fatty infiltrations because of the high carbohydrate diet and different other reasons, lifestyle habits, dietary modifications and all those reasons, the fatty infiltrations happens in the liver, which on chronic stages causes liver cirrhosis. Infections that I have already mentioned about the hepatitis infection, repeated hepatitis infection and jaundice causes liver cirrhosis, and also the fibrosis condition. The fibrous tissues of the liver contracts and blocks the portal circulation and further complication occurs. So during this cirrhotic condition, the fibrous tissues that is formed in the liver, which obstructs the portal circulation, which obstructs the hepatic artery, which obstructs the portal vein, which causes the further complications like ascites, esophageal bleeding and all those complications. So in the next slide we are discussing about the alcoholism, acute and chronic hepatitis, cholecystitis, liver diseases. These conditions causes the liver cirrhosis. The chronic alcoholism, as I have told earlier, so when the alcohol enters into the body, it causes a series of complicated reactions. The liver functions a lot to eliminate the alcoholic substances from the human body. So acute and chronic hepatitis, there are two types of hepatitis. So the liver cells gets damaged because of the hepatitis virus A, B, C, D and so on. So cholecystitic liver diseases is caused because of the obstruction in the biliary duct or cystic duct. The gallbladder, there are diseases in the gallbladder which may require surgical removal of gallbladder also. So in the gallbladder obstruction or overflowing of the bile, the gallbladder obstruction which causes the overflowing of the bile then enters the back circulation, which again enters into the liver cells. The bile digests the liver cells, the bile destroys the liver cells and causes the cirrhosis. So if diseases, if the obstruction related to the gallbladder or biliary duct, if we are not treating it properly, it results in the self-destruction of the liver cells by the bile juices. Okay, well, that causes the liver diseases. So this is the stages of liver disease when the healthy hepatocytes are liver cells. So in the healthy liver, the hepatocytes will look normal. So the stages of liver diseases: in the healthy liver cells, the hepatocytes, it looks very normal. During the fatty liver means the fatty infiltrations get deposited in the liver. That causes the yellowish and enlargement of the liver. So the fibrosis is a condition when a fatty liver cells causes the obstruction and it leads to the synthesis of connective tissues called collagen. The collagen is excessively synthesis and causes the fibrosis in the liver. When fibrosis happens, it causes the obstruction in the portal circulation, that finally the liver cells, all the liver cells will get fibrous and cirrhosis happens. It takes years and years of time to develop the liver cirrhosis. And the first and foremost cause of chronic liver diseases is alcoholic liver damage. The alcoholic liver damage is explained in this slide. So when a person is consuming alcohol for a longer period of time, whenever the alcohol enters into the human body, the liver cells has to eliminate the alcoholic substances from the human body. So for the elimination process, the alcohol will get converted into aldehyde, acetaldehyde and other further aldehydes in the presence of the enzyme alcoholic dehydrogenase. So when acetaldehyde are produced, the NADH production and lipid peroxidation happens. The NADH production and lipid peroxidation, hydroxyl ions are eliminated, which increases the lipogenesis. Lipogenesis means synthesis of fats and fatty acids in the liver, and decreased fatty acid oxidation. So the fatty acid oxidation happens to provide energy to the human body, but the increased lipogenesis causes the fat to deposit in the liver, and the actual fat that is required for energy production will be decreased. So and during lipid peroxidation, the oxidative stress increases and causes the hepatocyte injury, and as the fat content in the liver increases, fatty liver causes, and alcohol intake also causes the gut derived endotoxin, which stimulates the hepatocyte cells. The hepatic stellate cells activated and produces the collagen, and which causes the liver fibrosis. So this is how the fibrosis of liver happens. Once the fibrosis is chronic, and it leads to the liver cirrhosis. So this is how the fat and fibrosis condition of the liver happens because of the alcoholism. So in the complications of liver damages, so this is the bile duct. In a interior of the liver cell, the bile ducts and the hepatocytes are lined in between. So bile duct will also be passed through the liver cells, and the portal vein and hepatic artery will go into the liver. So when the fat cells will get activated and the fibrosis condition happens, the fatty cells will get enlarged, and the perisynodosal space will get enlarged because of the fibrous tissue. The fibrous tissues are formed in between the portal vein and the hepatic cells. So once the fibrosis condition is formed, it compresses the portal vein and the artery. Once it is getting compressed, the fluid inside the artery will get released from the portal circulation, which gets accumulated in the peritoneal cavity, resulting in ascites. So this is how the damages will cause. So the furthermore complication that I have told, the portal hypertension, the compression in the portal circulation. So the portal circulatory arteries and veins will get compressed due to the fibrosis condition. So further the tension and the pressure in the portal circulation increases, which also causes the esophageal varices, which means the intestinal bleeding or esophageal bleeding, and the gastrointestinal bleeding will also happen because of the portal hypertension. So and one more thing, due to the portal hypertension, the hepatorenal syndrome occurs. So once the portal arteries and veins get narrowed down because of the compression, as we have seen in the previous slide. So because of the compression, the portal vein and the hepatic artery will get compressed. The circulation will have another shunt. The the heart will pump the blood around the liver, and most of the blood will not enter into the liver. So this causes the hepatorenal syndrome. So the liver has to purify certain metabolites, and then the blood has to enter into the renal system. So if the liver is not purifying, and because of the portal hypertension there in the liver, the blood flow will be exchanged, and the blood flow the blood flow forms an alternative and enters the renal circulation, and that causes the acute renal failure due to the insufficiency. So insufficiency is the blood flow will not be proper, there is a hypertension, and there might be a fluid accumulation in the peritoneal cavity, which causes the hepatorenal syndrome. The hepatorenal syndrome, a person with the chronic liver diseases might be suffering from acute renal failure also. And then ascites is accumulation of fluid in the abdominal cavity. So from the diagram you will able to see the liver because of portal circulation, the fluid enters the peritoneal cavity. The peritoneal cavity holds the abnormal amount of abdominal fluid. And then further complications include hepatic encephalopathy, which is a very serious complication which causes disturbances in the neuromuscular activity and the brain activity of human body. So during the hepatic encephalopathy, the ammonia level in the blood increases. The ammonia is a toxic substance which needs to be eliminated by the liver, but the liver is not functioning properly, so the ammonia will get entered into the bloodstream, which leads the which further enters into the cerebral hemispheres of the brain, that causes the encephalopathy. Encephalopathy is nothing but the coma condition. It is called hepatic coma. So in the ammonia production may be because of exogenous and endogenous factors. Exogenous factors includes the dietary protein, dietary consumption of different food items which causes the bacteria to synthesis ammonia in the intestinal cavity, intestines, which is exogenous nature. And endogenous is the intestinal bleeding, esophageal bleeding. The blood cells will also be broken down to produce ammonia. So the ammonia will not be able to broken down by the liver, so it enters into the cerebral hemisphere. These are the complications of liver cirrhosis. Once these complications occurs, the major role of the treatment is to eliminate the complications, reduce the complications in further treating the liver cirrhosis. So now we are going into the dietary management part. In this liver cirrhosis, dietary management plays a very crucial role. We have to assess the patient's body thoroughly. We have to assess the liver function test. We have to assess the renal capacity, sodium levels, ascites, and the symptoms and complications. Everything needs to be assessed properly before providing the proper dietary guidances. So the liver cirrhotic patients, most of the patients will have malabsorption as their first complication. So the food items will not get absorbed properly. The excess synthesis of fat in the liver causes steatorrhea. So these are the complications we need to address during the dietary management. So in the first part of the dietary management is energy. So the increased mortality with the moderate malnutrition and inadequate intake. So the mortality rate increases in the end stage liver diseases patients because of the moderate malnutrition and inadequate intake. The persons will not be able to consume the food properly. Even if they consume the food properly, even if the energy intake is adequate, malabsorption causes and the series of malnutrition issues linked with the liver diseases, which elevates the chances of mortality. And in case of energy, the basal energy expenditure of the end stage liver disease patients will be 120%. So normal from 20% above the normal persons, we have to provide the energy for the ESLD patients. So 150 to 170% in cases of ascites, infection and malabsorption. If malabsorption is the case, if a person is having ascites, that is a accumulation of abnormal fluid in the peritoneal cavity, or infection happens, the calorie intake should be raised to 150 to 170%, which is approximately 25 to 35 kilocalories per kilogram of body weight. If the patient is malnourished, 30 to 35 kilocalories will be sufficient to address the malnutrition issues. Carbohydrates. The liver is the major metabolic site which plays a vital role in the metabolism of carbohydrates, either in the breakdown of carbohydrates into energy or synthesis of glucose from the non-carbohydrate source, or synthesis of glycogen and storing it in the liver, and the breakdown of glycogen into glucose for energy metabolism. All these metabolic processes happening in the liver. So the liver function is impaired, which causes the reduced gluconeogenesis process, and hypo and hyperglycemia occurs because of the reduced glucose production and also the reduced utilization. The glucose production will be impaired and utilization is also impaired. So, resulting in certain conditions hypoglycemia occurs and in certain conditions hyperglycemia occurs. So, alternative fuel source we should be given more importance like proteins and fat should be given more importance if the person. So, proteins will be given more important to provide energy if the person is not having encephalopathy or ammonia concentration in the blood and so on. And fat is provided as a alternative fuel if the person is not suffering from steatorrhea. So, in the recovery stages, carbs will be given liberately to promote the glycogen synthesis. If the liver starts to synthesize glycogen, it increases the liver function and further recovery of the liver tissues will happen. So, this is the carbohydrate requirement during the liver cirrhosis. So, protein. So, 0.8 gram per kilogram of body weight of stable patients to maintain the nitrogen balance. To maintain the nitrogen balance, if there is a negative nitrogen balance, the body tissues will get broken down to maintain the to balance the nitrogen balance. So, at least 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight of protein should be given to the stable patients. The person who are stable during the cirrhosis condition, we can give 0.8 gram per kilogram of body weight to maintain the nitrogen balance, not for other reasons. So, without encephalopathy, if a person is not having the encephalopathy or increased ammonia concentration in the blood, we can increase the protein intake from 0.8 to 1 gram per kilogram of body weight, because during the breakdown of protein also the ammonia will get eliminated. So, if encephalopathic condition is there, if a person is having the symptoms of hepatic encephalopathy or hepatic coma, like confusions, alterations, neuromuscular disturbances, if symptoms are related to hepatic coma, then we have to completely restrict the dietary protein intake. The dietary protein intake is also one of the factors for excessive synthesis of ammonia. And during the recovery stages, to maintain the positive nitrogen balance, because for the synthesis of hepatocyte cells also, for synthesis of liver cells also, we need the protein. So, for maintaining the positive nitrogen balance, 1.2 to 1.3 grams per kilogram of body weight is also suggested. So, during ascites, infection, sepsis or alcoholic damage, it is raised to 1.5 gram per kilogram of body weight. The calculating the protein for the liver cirrhotic patient plays a very crucial task. It should be planned based on the situation and current condition of the patient. So, in case of fats, 20 to 40% of calories should be from the fats. So, at least 20 grams of fat should be provided to the patients. The fats should be with medium chain fatty acids. The fats should be of medium chain fatty acids, example coconut oil, which can be provided through the diet. So, vitamins and minerals, all the vitamins and minerals will be of inadequate because of malabsorption, steatorrhea and all the other reasons. The liver will also be not able to store and transport the nutrients properly. So, the deficiency of vitamins and minerals are very common among the liver cirrhotic patients. So, supplementation is required for both fat and water soluble vitamins. Water soluble vitamins like B complex vitamins are very much essential to initiate the energy metabolism, and minerals like iron and other water soluble vitamins like folic acid, folate are very much essential to prevent the person from falling into anemia. So, water soluble vitamin deficiencies are more prevalent with person with alcoholic liver diseases. So, if the person is having ascites, that is abdominal fluid accumulation or edema, the sodium level should be completely restricted, and once the condition subsides, the sodium level should be bring back to normal. So, fluids, and the fluid should be calculated based on the urine loss. If the sodium levels are low in the human body, the urine losses will be calculated, and along with 500 to 750 ml of liquid is only permitted for the patients. So generally the fluids are restricted to 1 to 1.5 liter per day based on the edema and ascites condition. So the fluid should be properly maintained based on the urinary output. So if there is a renal dysfunction or if the chances of renal failures are high, we have to monitor the fluid intake very accurately to calculate the further fluids. So these are the references. You can further refer for further more informations. Thank you everyone for watching the today's video. I hope this video will be clear in understanding the liver cirrhosis. For further videos, you can visit the other modules also. Thank you. Thanks for watching.